Get home from school, turn on my TV. Who are these friends staring right back at me? Now that we're older, why don't you come over and go back in time with me? 90s babies nostalgia.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is 90s Babies Nostalgia. We're a couple of 90s babies rewatch and sometimes watch for the first time tween entertainment from the early 2000s.
Just to be clear, we are not sponsored by or affiliated with any of the TV shows, channels, actors that we talk about. We just really, really love talking about TV. And today we are talking about the sweet life of Zack and Cody.
Season 2. We made it, guys. Season 2, part 1. We are going to be talking about 6 episodes from like episodes 7 through 18-ish, around there. We'll tell you more later, and it'll be in the show notes. If you wanted to like watch along and listen, you can come back. Podcasts are forever. We'll live on the internet. But before we get into it, Jessica, what have you been enjoying lately?
I have been trying to get back on my consistent working out game. I know. I've done yoga now 12 days in a row. I'm very proud of myself. But I've also been trying to reincorporate cardio. I am someone who enjoys working out from home. And so what I've been enjoying is I have done her videos before, but she went back into my recommended in YouTube and I forgot about her. And her name is MK Fit. And she does HIIT style, dance cardio, HIIT videos, strength training videos, and kickboxing. But I've mostly done her kickboxing and HIIT style dance workouts. But the reason that I love her, I sent one to Amanda. All of the themes are amazing. She's an Olivia Rodrigo one that's amazing. She has a heavy metal kickboxing that is like, if you are into heavy metal and you just need to let some of your feels out, it's so good. But anyways, all her videos are great, but all of the themes are just so awesome. I did a Fall Out Boy versus Panic at the Disco one yesterday, so I just highly recommend. How about you?
I have been rewatching Gilmore Girls lately. My go-to comfort show rewatch for when I just need something on that I'm not paying attention to is typically Grey's Anatomy. I know, everyone, there are 25 million episodes. And you know what? I've seen all of them at least 3 times. Yes, that includes the current season. I can fly through a rewatch of the entire show in like 2 to 3 months. But
how?
I don't know. I'm just very talented. But in my recent, like, I need something casual to put on while I work and don't want to think about work pursuit, I wasn't really feeling Grace this time. And I remembered that years ago, I did a couple Gilmore Girls rewatches, and that's also a good comfort show. And, you know, it's not like anyone doesn't know this already, but I just am talking it up now because it's fun, it's witty, and it doesn't piss me off like most older shows. So this is your reminder to watch things that make you happy.
Yes.
And especially while you're working.
Yeah. And that is a perfect segue into us watching content that makes us happy, for the most part, but we'll get into it. Season 2 of Sweet Life, it premiered February 3rd, 2006 through June 2nd, 2007. In that like 15-month period, they put out 39 episodes for season 2. And I know Amanda has to watch all of them. I only have to watch the like 18 to 20 that she narrows it down to. So I am very lucky, but Amanda has to basically eat, sleep, breathe Zack and Cody right now.
Yeah, I don't really have time for other things to watch. I keep being like, "Oh, I can sit down and watch Gilmore Girls," and then, no. But that's fine. That's fine. It's fine, guys, it's fine.
Mhm.
I will say season 2, I didn't remember nearly as many episodes as season 1. Season 1, I, like, knew every episode. Season 2, there were a lot where I was like, "Am I watching this for the first time?" Like, it doesn't seem brand new, but I also
Wow.
don't remember it.
Wow. I feel like at least the ones you narrowed down, I remembered almost every single one. Probably because you picked the
Interesting.
more memorable ones, is my
Some of those
guess.
ones I didn't remember.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Just to keep you guys, like, into, like, loop of the timeline, Zack and Cody are now in their final year of middle school. It's kind of where we're at in season 2. Uh
Mhm.
Recurring characters from season 1 that we do not see in this season is Muriel, who's the lazy housekeeper, and Tapeworm, who was Max's friend that then became Zack and Cody's friend.
Muriel was a surprise for me. I remembered her being in so many more episodes.
I know, I remember her as, like, a main side character, like, one of the more
Yeah.
prominent side characters, like Esteban, but she's really not.
She's really in, like, 5 or 6 episodes in season 1, and that's it.
Yeah, crazy.
But we do have some other recurring characters who either came in season 2 or were introduced in season 1 and became more prominent in season 2. So we have Bob, who was in the infamous episode 18 that is not on Disney Plus. Uh, of he has dyslexia and Zack pretended to have dyslexia. He's that Bob, and he's played by Charlie Stewart, and he's just like, I don't know, a silly little ginger dude who's friends with them.
Mhm.
Warren, played by Gus Hoffman, is one of their friends. I'm gonna be so for real. Outside of Max and Bob, their friends are interchangeable. Like, they have no distinct personalities that I don't know their names. I don't.
That's very fair. Um, we also get Agnes, who's
Not
played
interchangeable.
no, not interchangeable. She's played by Ellie Grant. She's, like, kind of a dorky-ish classmate that has a crush on Zack. Like, she wants to be in with the cool crowd is the vibes that I got from her.
She had a crazy obsessive crush on Cody in season 1, and then Zack
Oh.
goes on a date with her in place of Cody, and then her crush transfers, but she's very much there as, like, comedic relief in a way that makes me feel a little icky, but then sometimes I like her. So, I don't know.
Mhm. We saw her on an episode of That's So Raven, the actor. And also she plays Isabel in Weeds. But it is a very, like, it's a face that you see and you're like, "Oh, I know that actress." Um,
Mhm. Speaking of
then
which,
yeah.
we get Jessica and Janice, played by Camilla and Rebecca Rosso, who are English blonde twins that go on to that direct-to-DVD Legally Blonde movie.
Mhm. Yeah, and the fun thing about them too is they actually were in the crowd because this show had crowds watch it. Um,
Mm.
and so they were pulled from the crowd, and a producer was like, "You guys should really um practice and apply to be on the show. We think you would be great." And so then they applied. They really liked the way they read for these love interests. They were supposed to only be on one episode, and then they became recurring characters because they liked the way they played the characters so much.
And I'm gonna be honest, you can tell from the way that they are written in that they were only supposed to be in one episode.
Sure.
We also have the introduction of Chef Paolo, who is the main chef at the Tipton, which in last season they said had 3 restaurants, but Chef Paolo's the only chef that I've seen. And he's played by Jerry Kernian. He's done a lot of, like, guest star roles. He was a voice role in The Princess and the Frog. He was in Zoe 101. He was in I Didn't Do It. He's got a long IMDb, but you don't really know who he is. We also have who I forgot was in Sweet Life, and she's actually credited with a 3-name moniker, as in her middle name, Vanessa Ann Hudgens, comes in
Mm.
as a classmate of London and Maddie. Yes, they're together in school now. We'll get into that. Her character's name is Corey. She's a ditz who's obsessed with London in a creepy way.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yep.
have the return of Monique Coleman, who plays Mary Margaret, who's kind of sassy, another classmate, and Barbara Brownstein, who is Sophie Oda, played by Sophie Oda. She was in season 1 as the girl with the volcano that didn't work in the science fair, and she is now in multiple episodes in season 2 as an actual character, classmate of Zack and Cody. And she's like the smart Asian girl that rivals Cody.
Another thing I wanted to mention, so some of these friends of Zack and Cody you mentioned were introduced in season 1. However, the main friends that we followed in season 1 were Max and Tapeworm.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like we get rid of Tapeworm, we see Max a couple times, but the main friends are like Bob Warren, and then there's this other guy, I don't remember his name, but he's in a couple episodes as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney does this they've done it with they did it with Phil of the Future. I'm sure they did it with the other shows as well, where they like in season 1 introduce you to a set of friends, and then they're like, don't really care about these, switch it up for season 2. And I'm like, what was wrong with Max and Tapeworm? I was fine with them.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people choose not to come back, but sometimes Disney chooses for them to not come back. And I like the elevation of some of the roles. Like I like Agnes and Barbara having bigger roles, but they never even mention where Tapeworm is. Like that's my thing. When Brenda Song left Phil of the Future, didn't they mention that she moved or something? I feel like they did.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Like I need you to mention it.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have used more Allison Stoner, but she was also probably busy. Like I get that. She's like a workaholic, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
It is weird. It is weird because it starts to feel like a different show. I think this one, though, didn't suffer from it as much as Phil of the Future because we have such a large ensemble cast as it is that the majority of the characters are stable.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it like affected the overall show. I think the show still feels relatively the same watching it compared to season 1, but it was something I noted where I'm like, why does Disney always do this? Who decided that this is how we do it? Like,
I think
don't get it.
the most notable tone change between season 1 and season 2 is now both of our teenage groups, Zack and Cody and Maddie in London, go to school regularly visibly. We had a couple school episodes. I don't even know if I had you watch any of them, but we only had like 2 or 3 school episodes in season 1, and now it's a pretty prominent feature of the show, which is not something I remembered. I thought that they were like at the Tipton 99% of the time. So seeing there's new sets, there's new stock footage, there's new side characters. So that's like that to me is the tonal change. You know?
Yeah, I agree. We see them outside of the Tipton a lot more, which I think is good. It's like, how much can you do in a hotel? Well, a lot.
Yeah.
But
I think that's probably what the writers were saying was how much can you do in a hotel?
well, with that, let's get into the first episode 1, Odd Couples.
This is one of the most memorable episodes of this show that Disney ever put out.
And the reason it was so memorable is we get our guest star, Zac Efron, who plays Trevor.
Put him in the first episode, baby. And you know that's because High School Musical had like just come out or was coming out. It came out in 2006. So it was around that time. They were like, throw him in.
Yeah, put him in the mix. He's what's hot right now. Let's keep that momentum moving. Disney knows what they're doing. He plays a merit scholar. Getting into the plot, Zac, I'm going to go with the A plot. Zac Efron is not part of this plot, but that's okay.
But he's here, guys. Just wait.
Yeah. Zack and Cody's friends are coming over to play like a D&D type game was the vibe I got.
I got like Catan.
Oh, it gave me role-playing vibes though. Like they were playing characters, but it also was taking over the world.
Yeah, it was like taking over kingdoms and like resources. Either way, they're playing a tabletop game.
Mm-hmm. But the room is a mess. So Carrie's like, you need to clean this room before your friends come over. It looks disgusting. So Cody cleans it and Zack supervises. But right as the room is like pristine, the friends are right about to arrive. Zack, like, I don't know, turns around and then there's a giant pile of shit everywhere.
Respect. I have that talent too.
And Cody is like pretty irritated at this point. But their friends are over. He's kind of like, sorry for the mess. This is Zack. But they're eating snacks. They're playing their game. Zack dips a little cocktail weenie that Cody cooked into some mustard. And it falls on the floor. And Cody loses it. So he's like, you know what? I had enough of this. I'm moving out. And where does he move to? The coat closet.
Yep. And then he fully renovates the coat closet. He has multiple people come over. He builds it a little yard, a little mailbox. And the boys decide that they are going to go hang out in the coat closet with him because he has food and it's cleaner than as I really need you to read exactly how you describe this. Everyone loves his closet room way more than
Zack's toe jam stinky room.
yes. Zack eventually is like, what is going on in this room? And he goes in and there's like maid service and masseuse and room service.
And they're hanging a TV.
A big
like a
screen
giant
TV. Yeah. And then Zack leaves and he's like, this sucks. And then Carrie's like, what's going on in my closet? And everyone spills out. And Zack finally cleans his room. And Cody moves back in. And it's not really because Zack cleaned his room. It's because the fire marshal shut him down.
Into our B plot, there's a merit scholar competition at the Tempton, and London flirts with one of the attendees, Trevor, who is Zac Efron. And he invites her to lunch, and she immediately realizes, she's like, I am not smart enough to go to this lunch. Like, I cannot hang out with this guy. Like, I cannot keep a conversation. And so she pays Maddie $100 to help her prep for the date. I don't really know what happens with the lunch thing. We don't see them go to lunch, but instead they are going to a museum together. And so Maddie gives London a little like earpiece to put in her ear so then Maddie can tell London what to say in response to Trevor. And so they're like walking around the museum. It's a little silly because London's repeating every single thing Maddie says, even though half of them don't apply. And Trevor's like, what are you saying? Then London learns that he wants to be the president when he grows up. And so Maddie, of course, being our environmental queen that she is, has London ask a question about the environment. And he mentions like, oh, we don't need to worry about that. There's too many restrictions already. And this sets Maddie off. And so Trevor bumps into her. They yell at each other. They have to explain what's going on. And then they're like screaming because they have opposite views. And then they kiss.
Yep. They do go to lunch. I'm pretty sure they go to lunch. And then when they're coming back is when he invites her to the museum. And she tells Maddie at the counting counter, like, I barely made it through that lunch. I can't go through a whole museum. And that's when they make the plan. I'm pretty sure.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack in the B plot. Not as much in the A plot.
Not as much in the A plot. We can touch on those really quickly. Zack is mentioning, or Cody, one of them is mentioning the things that are in the fridge, like snacks in the fridge and cheese balls is mentioned, which is weird. You don't keep those in the fridge. Also, he is shut down by the fire marshal because we learn that the closet is over 6 by 6 feet. It's like 6.5 by 6 3/4 or something. So it's a giant closet. And all that's permitted, according to the fire marshal, is 3 coats and an umbrella.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, you know Carrie's not limiting what's in that closet to that.
Also, like, that's just silly. Like,
Also, I wrote, related to that size, This closet would go as a studio in New York City for $2K. And that's with the mini fridge and no real bathroom. Like,
yeah.
That
No.
New York renovates closets into studios all the time.
Yeah. Also, like, not really relevant to the plot, but I do have to mention it, that because of the whole closet situation, there are a lot of doorbells and a lot of knocking that occurs in this episode. And if you have a dog, it's very annoying. So,
Did he
warning
react
you.
a lot?
Oh my god, every time a doorbell goes off on the TV, he swears it is our doorbell. And I have a very, very, very protective mutt that's like all guard dog breeds, so it just set him off. And he goes into
poor
like full on
baby.
guarding the house mode, and then you have to like calm him down, and then I would press play and another damn doorbell would go off, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't watch this.
Okay, A plot.
Okay, B plot.
B plot, whatever. Sorry, to me it's the A plot.
Yeah,
They were pretty
probably
equal.
is. Yeah, they were. I have a lot of thoughts. So we really brought fucking Zac Efron, talk of the town, Troy Bolton, hot, to play a nerd that takes London to lunch.
Yeah. And they dressed him up as a nerd, which was kind of sad because the wasted potential. Like he's a jock in High School Musical. Why is was he like, I need diversity in my roles? Like, was he worried about being typecast? Like who chose that?
Well, and then all the lines they gave him were grammar jokes. And I'm like, this is really what you want for your career? This character?
I mean, I don't think he chose this character or wrote
That's
this
fair.
character.
That's fair. I don't think he wrote it, but it's just crazy to me that this is what we brought Zac Efron on to do.
The nerd part of it does not bother me nearly as much as the Republican part of it. Like, they brought him in to be a baby Republican nerd.
Yep.
He said, I want to be president, and the environment has... He doesn't just say, guys, that the environment has too many restrictions on development. He then is like, I bet you blame the oil companies for global warming. And Maddie's like, because they're to blame, which, spoiler,
It's
they
true.
are. And they keep fighting like this in this weird, like, enemies to lovers, which ends with a, do you want to kiss me as much as I want to kiss you? I'm surprised someone as smart as you has to ask. And then they make out twice. And it's giving gross. It's weird. I know there are some people who are in relationships with people who are opposite politically to them. Could never be me. And why we're having children have such strong political opinions that are so divisive, and then also use that as a bonding plot, I don't understand, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's icky. It's icky. Also, like, adding on to his weird I want to be president thing, he also mentions, like, I want to be a president, then go on to be a talk show host, which was just, like, really alarming. It was just a big no from me.
It was kind of reminiscent of how Obama got criticized for being the first president to go on late night. Do you remember that? Yeah. It's like, he can be a nerd. I'm not wrong with that. I'm not upset about that. It's the specific style of nerd that they wrote him in as, and Maddie's reaction to it that is... that rubs me the wrong way. However, as a kid, did I find it kind of hot? Yeah.
Sure, but I do agree, like, the enemies to lovers, but using,
but they're just
politics in children to then portray that plot line is, it's just not great. Really small things. Maddie is so close to them in this museum, and I'm like, isn't the chip so she can hear what's going on? And like, I don't understand why she's so close. That's confusing to me. Also, this is like a black earbud, like larger than an AirPod, but doesn't stick out like an AirPod, but like a black round earbud. And London wears her hair up, and I'm like, we can see it the entire time.
No one ever said London was smart.
Sure, but it's so obvious.
I just remember as a child being scandalized by this episode because Troy Bolton and Sharpay Evans kissed.
Mm-hmm. I didn't connect those, but that is like...
That was one of my thoughts growing up.
Especially because Vanessa Hudgens is in this season.
Yeah, I obviously remembered the Zack episode. I did not remember that Vanessa Hudgens is in this show, and there's so many Sweet Life people, or no, so many High School Musical people in Sweet Life. It's weird.
Mhm.
It's weird.
Quotes. Don't remember when this one was said, but you're not helping the cause, people. I think that's something to do with, I don't know. Also, I was gonna make something up, but I'm not doing that for y'all today. Cody at one point, a little timer in the kitchen goes off and he goes, "Ooh, my weenies are done." And then he like prances off to the kitchen and it was cute. London says, "I know all about genealogy. It's where you rub the lamp and get 3 wishes." And it just, honestly, love the writing for London every single time.
And this is how she gets through the lunch, is she just makes these jokes that she doesn't actually think are jokes. They're real statements. But Zac Efron's like, oh my God, she's so smart she can make jokes out of it.
Yeah.
Like a pun.
Yeah. Also, Carrie goes, she's leaving and she needs to grab a coat from the closet, but it's Cody's room. And Cody hands her a coat and she's like, "Oh no, I wanted a blue one or something." And he goes, "Not with those shoes."
Yeah, that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Maddie? I'm just going to say it. Okay, there's 2 theses that I am developing. I'm developing a lot of things actually about Sweet Life. I have so many thoughts, guys. The longer we get into this, please don't hate me. I know y'all wanted us to watch it so bad, and we are watching it for you, but I'm not going to sugarcoat my thoughts, okay? I'm developing a list of Esteban's lore. I'm developing a list of how this is pushing some weird Disney moderate agenda as shown in this episode and others, and also how London is actually a better friend than Maddie by like a million times.
Oh,
Maddie is
100%. Maddie's
so
a terrible friend.
Maddie is so mean to London
and manipulative.
First quote in this episode when London is, I don't know, talking about the merit scholars, and Maddie says, "I've met bread smarter than you."
Yeah.
Like, she's just a bitch.
Yeah, she really is.
Episode 4, Hex Kitchen. Guest stars, we have multiple that don't matter, and then the only one that kind of matters is Jim Jansen, who plays a food critic, and he plays the Reverend in Gilmore Girls. A plot, which is the only plot, I think.
The only plot.
Chef Paolo and Cody cook together in the kitchen because they like to cook together. Cody likes to cook. Turns out he's really good at it. Mr. Moseby learns that there's a food critic coming to the hotel who is a master of disguises. And so for the first time ever, he employs Zack and Cody to do his dirty work. Carrie's not sure how she feels about it, but she doesn't really have a say in it. He tells Zack and Cody to go find out who the food critic is based on these photos that he has from his like hotel blogs about critics' disguises. And so they assault multiple guests of the hotel trying to find the critic. They tell a woman that they thought she was a man. They literally vacuum a beard off of a man's face, and then they see a cowboy and they're like, that's the last possible disguise. He's the critic. Everyone's ready for it. However, Paolo, he quits because London's dog won't eat his food, and that's an insult, and he takes his whole team with him. So Cody gets roped into filling in for Paolo. He can only make one dish to his full confidence. That is Chef Paolo's chicken, the chicken Paolo. And he ropes in Moseby, Zack, Carrie, London, and Maddie as all of the line cooks. Do they know how to cook? No.
No.
Patrick is the only waiter right now because Rich and some other guy get hit by doors and fall over. So Maddie and London have to do the famous tipped and tossed salad, but really they're just tossing salad all over the whole restaurant and into their own mouths, which then gets onto the plate of the cowboy. Also, he didn't ordered the chicken. He ordered the seafood medley because they couldn't bully him into ordering something he didn't want. So they're making the seafood medley, and the things keep happening, and the Cody keeps yelling at people to be better. He tells Carrie, I'm going to play to your strengths. You're on dishes duty. He has Zack go get a squid that gets suctioned onto him, and everyone fights to get it off, and the squid squirts ink at Carrie, and then basically Cody's just such a jerk that they all quit.
Yeah.
They quit, and finally, I don't know, Carrie
Like,
talks
Carrie's
sense into
yeah.
him. She's like, you
Yeah.
can't be a jerk to people. And he's like, I'm sorry, if I'm better, will you come back? So they come back, they finish the dish, they serve it to the cowboy, and he's like, this is delicious. I would totally give you a good review if I were a reviewer. And then the actual critic next to him is like, I am a reviewer, and I'm not going to give you a good review. And they're like, wait, and shove food in his mouth. And he's like, all right, I'll come back later. And then they have Chef Paolo come back. That's the plot.
Mhm.
Sorry, I was really
Yeah.
on a roll. We're already half an hour in, and we've got episodes to cover.
Yep. Nope, that was perfect.
My very first note is because Jeff writes the summaries down for our documents. I've seen this episode, so I know what happens. And yet reading the summary was a wild ride. And imagine reading it without having
Yeah.
seen this episode.
Yeah. This episode is crazy. Like, when you threw it and you mentioned that they literally vacuum a beard off someone, because that happens. Like,
what I ignored is that the very start of this episode, as you noted, London walks in wearing a dog cone.
Yeah.
Because her dog has to wear a cone and she's wearing one in solidarity.
Also, I have to mention, small throwback to our last episode where I mentioned that Emma Stone plays the voice of Ivana, and you were like, that's creepy because that has to be her stepmom. No. Ivana is the dog.
Oh my God.
In an episode was London's dog's voice. I needed to clarify that to our,
and I totally know
listeners.
that that's her dog's name, and I know exactly what episode you're talking about now, except that does not sound like Emma Stone, but that's fine. I made us not watch that episode because the B plot or A plot was a Lady in the Tramp style dog dialogue. It was weird. Anyway.
The amount of unsanitary tasting that is happening in this kitchen, and this is not just happening after Chef Paolo quits. This is happening while Chef Paolo is still in the kitchen. Him and Cody are tasting each other's dishes, and they're taking a spoon and dipping it and trying it, and then the same spoon again.
Goes right
and
back
I was like, oh, gross.
Also, on that note, the fact that you're like, there's a 12-year-old boy as the head chef of this actual restaurant. Like, imagine telling a world-renowned food critic that you had a 12-year-old boy cooking the food. Like, there's so many violations to business law and etiquette that are going on here. Like, they could shut down the Tipton for this, or at least the restaurant.
Yeah, like, just child labor laws alone.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Like,
I was thinking about all the health code violations and, like, you know, having people who are certified to actually work.
Yeah, no. Just child labor laws alone, they could be shut down. On top of all the other laws that they're breaking, it is just mind-blowing. And Moseby does say, he's like, our chef just quit. Cody had to step in. And I'm like, why are you telling the food critic all this?
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I honestly made us watch this episode just because I thought you would have lots of notes about both the hotel and restaurant side of it and the food critic side, and like, but you didn't really, other than this is stupid.
No, it's the disguises thing is like literally so dumb. One, they don't normally send back, if you guys want to get in the nitty-gritty. They will not send the same, I guess they will send the same critic to different establishments, but let's say you're getting certified for 1 year, they're not going to send that same critic back to certify you for the following year or the year after. They would send a different one. So it's not like you could like really
I don't think
know what to expect, and they're not wearing disguises.
Well, I don't think this critic's been to the Tipton before, because Moseby had the photos from like his group of hoteliers, like his friends, and they didn't recognize the critic. They would recognize him if he'd been there because he's not wearing a disguise.
Well, we don't know because at the end he then puts on a different voice.
I fucking forgot about that. Where they were like, "You're not in a disguise," and then like a woman's voice comes out.
Yeah,
like, yeah,
it was very strange. Well, I didn't think the whole... Okay, it's weird that Moseby employs the boys, but also, like, when a critic comes to a hotel, it kind of is like that. The front desk staff will be like, this person checked in. They asked all these questions that are very strange and not like a normal guest. I think they might be a critic. And then another person's like, interacted with that same guest, made them a reservation at the restaurant. Again, they asked all these questions, think they might be a critic. Like, everyone is constantly, like, on top of, like, this person seems like they're just asking a little too much about the specifics. Like, everyone is on edge when it's the season. So I didn't think like that portrayal was actually very accurate. But then the antics and the craziness that happened is just like, no.
I also have to point out that I thought that I pointed this out in the notes. I don't know. They have a full restaurant and they're cooking one meal for one man.
Yeah, there's like all these people who are just like sitting there and they got salad thrown all over them. Yeah. They just got attacked with salad and then are not being fed.
You want to talk about... Sorry?
No, go.
I was just going to say, you want to talk about the unsanitary tasting. Talk about when the grape tomato went in London's mouth and then she spat it out on the plate for the cowboy.
So gross. It's gross. This is a London line, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember.
It has to be.
Oh, maybe it has to do with her cone that she's wearing. But she goes, "Oh, look, I'm a lampshade."
Mm-hmm.
And then I think this is a Cody line when they're all in the kitchen. And
yeah,
Cody's
it's when they won't order the chicken, but they take the seafood instead.
And he has to switch what he's making. And he goes, "All right, people, drop what you're doing." And everyone literally drops what they're doing on the floor.
He's giving head chef. Episode 6, Forever Plaid. This is where we get who? Vanessa Hudgens. Vanessa Ann Hudgens as Corey. So,
a plot. London's dad is upset that she just like doesn't go to school. She literally, her attendance is horrible. The school didn't even know that she was registered for school because she just doesn't go. And so they transfer her to Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow, which is the school that Maddie goes to, that also Mary Margaret goes to, and Corey goes to. It's London's first day, and she's upset because she thinks she looks horrible because of the uniform.
And the cafeteria food is like prison food.
Yeah, like everything is terrible. In class, the nun's talking about an assignment and she raises her hand and she's like, that assignment like doesn't work for me. And Maddie's like, this is not how this works. Like, and so Maddie's trying to get London's attention. And so she like crunches up a piece of paper in a ball and throws it and it hits the nun in the face. And so then they both get 2 hours of detention. But while in detention, we learn that there's 2 visiting nuns that they're like preparing for a presentation by them for, and but they ran out of the holy sugar cookie. And so the nun like, you stay right here. I'll be back in 1 hour. I'm going to run and get the holy sugar cookies. You guys don't go anywhere. But of course, London tries to leave because she has a fashion show that she wants to go to. And Maddie's like, no, you need to stay for detention. The fashion show's all the way in New York. We're in Boston. You're not even going to get there in time and we're going to get in trouble. But in all of this happening, they get locked out of the detention room. So they're like, oh, what do we have to do? So then they dress up as nuns. Yeah. And so the actual nuns at the school are like, oh, you must be the visiting nuns and you must be her translator. And this is where we learn that the visiting nuns are from Helsinki. And so Maddie is pretending to speak Finnish and London is speaking Finnish to her and translating. And they're going into the room and Corey comes up and is like, oh my God, it's London Tipton, and realizes that it's Maddie and London in disguise. They're giving like a presentation, a Q&A. And then they ask her to sing some songs, since she is a musician that has some recorded folk songs. And it's at that time that the detention nun shows back up and is like, these are imposters. And she has the real visiting nuns. And also, weirdly, London is then like basically gets off scot-free. They're like, oh, you were sorry for what you've done. You took responsibilities for your actions, so you're not punished.
Yeah, I'll get into that when we get to our notes.
Okay.
B plot.
Oh, God.
The boys are playing in a hotel room and make a lamp fall over and it chips the wall. And then Arwen kind of comes to help fix it, but then they accidentally make a hole bigger, and then they can see through to the next room, and there's a girls' soccer team. So they become little peeping toms. They convince Arwen to leave and go have lunch with their mom so they can spy on the girls. Bob shows up and he's like, so you're peeping? And they're like, we're exploring science. And he's like, so you're peeping? And they're like, give us $10 and you can do it too. And so he does. And then Warren also shows up and they end up drilling 4 holes so that all 4 of them can peep at the same time. And then the girls find out and poke all of them in the eye. And simultaneously Moseby arrives and is like, I've had a complaint. You guys are disgusting. Arwen shows up and is like, what are you looking at? And he gets poked in the eye. And then Carrie makes them all write an apology and tells on them that peeping is wrong.
No, she makes them write an essay on why, an apology and an essay on why peeping is wrong. Like
she should.
Yeah, fair.
As she should.
Fair.
Let's get the boy plot line out of the way, because I have 2 notes and you had none. Other than it's truly just terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like, I actually really found this episode quite enjoyable and funny, but the boy plot just like ruined it for me. I'm like, why? Really? We wrote this in?
Yeah. Yep. And I think Carrie says something like, I thought I taught you to respect women more than this. Actually, I don't know if she says it in this episode. She says it in some episode. It's a regular, I know kids are curious, but that's overboard. Also, were you going to say something?
No, I disagree. That's how it makes me feel.
It's icky. The plot does start off with them doing something, and they do the classic like whatever, you know, where they're like it's like a handshake for them, and they do at the same. I can't even do it in the rhythm that they do it. Apparently, it's in my head in that rhythm, and I can't. It's not coming out of my mouth the right way, and I have to move on. I'm embarrassing myself at this point. But there is also some good physical comedy at the beginning because Arwen's like, do what I do. And so they copy all of his moves, and then he falls because of his belt and pants situation. I don't know. And so they just go and shrug and fall. And it's like, it was a little reminiscent of Raven.
Yeah, there is in general a lot of Raven elements in this episode, in the A plot and the B plot. The physical comedy is high, and the use of like costumes or disguise as well.
Yeah. All right, getting into this mother frickin' A plot.
Yeah.
So I just want to start out with the Disney Plus summary is London gets sent to public school. And this is not a public school. This is a private Catholic school with a fancy building and a bunch of strict nuns. And I don't know how Maddie affords it.
Well, my guess is like maybe she's on some sort of scholarship or grant.
I guess. It's never mentioned, and you'd think it would be because they love to mention how poor she is.
Yeah, it's definitely not public school, and I find it hilarious that the description says that.
Yeah.
And it's like, is this what Disney thinks is public school? Like,
it's so not public school that they get breakfast at school. In what world do you get breakfast at school?
Well, most schools offer breakfast, but yeah, most schools offer breakfast. It's just not a standard. Like, not everyone gets it. But like,
did our school offer breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
It's probably because me and you were not in the income brackets where we qualified for free breakfast, so we did not ever get it. But I was friends with people who were in those brackets and qualified for free breakfast and would have breakfast at school.
Well, that's free breakfast, but did they sell breakfast?
You could buy it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But this was like included and it was cafeteria style. It felt weird. Like, I agree, it was strange. It was not normal. You say new stock footage and the budget went up, set budget went up, which I agree. You can see that.
Yeah, anytime that there's additional sets added, you know, it's like the 4th season of Hannah Montana when they got the whole pier set, and it's like, I don't know that I needed a whole nother set because that's when it starts to feel like another show, but Disney said, money.
Mm-hmm. I just have to say, this plot is so ridiculous because Maddie is trying to get London to just be like a normal student at school and like respect the boundaries of going to a Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
But then it like does this hard pivot into them just being silly, pretending to speak Finnish and singing songs on stage together. And it is really funny. Like, I found myself really cracking up at what was happening.
That's fair. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really only think I assigned it because it's when London starts going to Maddie's school and that becomes a recurring theme. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fine. The whole detention scene was like, whatever. Maddie's freaking out. I don't go to detention. And then the guy that locks them out is like a weirdo, but he locks them out because they call him a weirdo and he doesn't like being called a weirdo. It's not the word. It's like freak or nerd or something.
Mm-hmm.
What I do really like about London and Maddie going to school together is because, as we mentioned, Maddie's a little bitch, as we even posted a clip about.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of the school episodes, this is a recurring theme, the way London gets off at the end. So they're sat in the office with the nuns talking about what happened. And London says, like, don't blame this on Maddie. Like, this is all my fault. I'm the one that wanted to leave and she told me not to and blah, blah, blah. And that's what she gets off because Catholic, like, repentance, you know? And so the nun is like, well, London could take responsibility for her actions and Maddie, you're just blaming it on London. And that's, you know, so London gets off. And that is a recurring theme. Anytime that they're at school, that they're like, well, like, even though London, like, gets off in life because she gets preferential treatment because she's rich, at school, like, she really shouldn't. But they just are, like, constantly shitting on Maddie because she's constantly blaming London. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree because, like, Maddie maybe deserves a little bit of it. But also in a lot of these, it's like, well, London is the reason that she got caught up in this. And she was trying to help London. So it's like...
Oh, I agree. Like, in this instance, it was London's fault. And in most instances, it is London's fault. But in general, it just feels a little karmic.
Sure. Quotes?
Yeah, we have quite a few for this one.
I think this either is something that Corey says.
Or
I'm pretty
London.
sure Corey. Oh yeah, maybe London, but no, I think it's Corey. But I'm not sure. But there's when she arrives at school, there's is Paris Hilton in this class? Which I just loved the call to Paris Hilton directly. And then when Mr. Moseby goes upstairs to scold the boys after he got the complaint from the girls' room about them peeping, and they were like, no, we weren't. Like, he goes, oh, pish posh, you people were peeping. It's really good.
In the cafeteria the first day of school, London says, I look horrible. And Maddie says, we're all wearing the same thing. And Maddie says, you look horrible too.
Yeah. Yep.
Regularly amusing to me is because they're nuns, everyone that works at this school, so Maddie calls them sister whatever or just sister. And so London goes, look, sis, and explains why the assignment isn't going to work for her. And the nun goes, sure, Lun, and then says more. And I like that she regularly calls them sis instead of sister, and they don't correct her. They just call her Lun instead of London.
Yeah, it's cute.
And then also what I thought was funny, a little touch that I was actually a little surprised London was smart enough to pull off, was she said, don't call it Helsinki, it's Hexinki.
Hexinki. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Episode 7, election. Cody is going to run for school president to make a difference, starting with the school cafeteria food. And Carrie encourages Zack to also run for something. She's like, maybe treasurer, you like money. But he learns that the school president conference,
National Conference of Middle School Presidents is happening on Maui.
Correct. That's ridiculous.
Let that sink in, guys.
And London... Okay, so then Zach's like, you know what? I'm going to run for president too because I want to go to Hawaii. And so London agrees to help Zack with his campaign because they're like, we can win people by buying them. And Maddie's like, no, you need an actual campaign. You need actual things that you're going to change. And so she agrees to help Cody.
Yeah.
And so Zach's like promising an ice cream and a skate park in supermodels in every art class, which, what? He even has the cheerleaders do like a cheer for him. And Cody's are very practical. He wants more funding to go to science and art supplies. And so Cody and Maddie are like, okay, we're losing. Everyone's falling into Zach's antics and crazy things that there's no way of him guaranteeing. And so they are like, we need to play a trick and mess with Zach's campaign. So Zack has these like signage that it like rotates.
London paid for like an electric sign that changes photos regularly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they like give him a mustache and paint silly things on those.
Which is not how electric signs work.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So Zack and London are like, we need to get back at Cody. This is not okay. And Zack kind of mentions to London, like, are we taking this too far? But we don't really know what the plan is yet. And so Zack does his president's speech and Cody is still late. Bob goes first. Bob's also running for president. It's not important.
It is, though. It is.
And so as part of Zack's speech, he shows the class a blown up picture of Cody after like watching a horror movie. So he's all scared and frightened and wrapped with his blankie. And they're like, is this what you want as class president? Or do you want me and supermodels and ice cream? And at the final moment, Cody shows up and he's on Arwen's jetpack, which that will link into the B plot. But he's on this jetpack that Arwen gave to him, and he's flying around the auditorium, and everyone is cheering for him. And then he flies around the room and he crashes, but it kind of seemed semi-planned, so I wasn't sure if it was a crash landing, but it was a crash. And so he goes up and he does his speech, and everyone's making fun of him. They're like, ooh, scaredy cat. And so finally Zack speaks up and is like, cut it out. Like, give Cody a chance. He has actual ideas. I'm not giving you guys any of these things that I promised. Like, those things are not happening. And so he withdraws from the race and tells everyone to vote for Cody.
B-plot. Arwen is upset because there was another hotel engineer on the cover of like Hotel Engineers Weekly, I don't know, quarterly, excuse me, some weird made up magazine, and this rival engineer was being awarded or noticed for improving efficiencies around the hotel. So he's on some weird shit, improving the speed of the elevator, which now goes way too fast, putting this like jetpack thingy or some sort of motor on the bell cart so that it'll go quicker, and also using the jetpack to clean the windows outside. All of these things go horribly wrong. Like,
Terrible.
the cart gets stuck, a bird lands on his head, and then a hawk comes while he's cleaning the window. And then eventually Moseby is like, thanks, because you trying to improve efficiencies around the hotel made all of the other employees step up and become more efficient so they wouldn't get replaced with robots.
Mm-hmm.
It's a silly little plot.
It's silly. Speaking of the election plot with Zack and Cody, I understand that this is 2005 and that we've come a long way with our CGI and our animation and things like that. However, this jetpack scene looked terrible.
Yeah. I wrote worse than the Spy Kids jetpack scene, which is from like 6 years prior, so it is in fact not okay. However, as we're discussing this, I must point out, if a Disney show had a jetpack scene today, it would look like this.
I would hope not. I would hope it would look at least 20% better.
No, a Disney Plus show would look 20% better. A Disney Channel show would look the same.
But it's like so messed up.
It's terrible.
Not like his body size changes depending on where the frame is in reference to the jetpack, because they're showing him fly around. So depending on the angle, like Cody is huge and the jetpack is small, or the jetpack is giant and Cody looks tiny, because they just couldn't get like the angle and the sizing right. It is really bad. Like really, really bad.
I didn't even notice the body changing sizes. But I feel like Disney's like, if you can't see the strings, you're welcome.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
It's just, Disney's never cared about their CGI budget for Disney Channel. They're throwing it all at Marvel.
Yeah.
And those CGI animators are unionizing, so they're really throwing it all at Marvel.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention this, but Agnes is like, I'm gonna vote for Zack because Zack promised me that if he's president, he'll make me his queen. And so she's all on this thing about becoming the queen. Mm-hmm. And it just, what? Why, and then she
Agnes? Asked Cody if he would do the same. Yeah. She's a weirdo. That's her whole personality.
Yeah.
Max is like, I'm voting for Zack because he said he'd make me an ambassador, which I like Max's in this episode. But the ambassador thing, Cody's like, what does that even mean? And she's like, I don't know, but it comes with an outfit, so.
Yeah, matching jackets or something. She's like, I'm sold.
What fucking middle school presidential conference exists at all? At all, let alone one in Maui.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't even think there's a high school president's conference. There might not even be a college president's conference. Like,
I could maybe see a conference like this existing for really rich kid private schools. However, whereas Maddie and London go to a Catholic school, Zack and Cody pretty clearly go to public school.
Yeah, they do.
They go to the fucking Hannah Montana school set. Like, it's not a private school. And also, Carrie's broke. So, repeatedly in this season, they're talking about how she shops at Cheap Charlie's. So, yeah. It's just, what? They have a what? And where? Yeah. And also, who's paying for that? Because we know Carrie can't afford to fly him to Maui.
Yeah. It was strange.
London and Zack are crushing Cody because London is buying all of his little classmates' stuff, like towels and pens, which are really like Tipton Brandon merchandise that she's just giving out. That's when Maddie has them go to Arwen because they have to steal the election. And she tells Cody that they have to show that the democratic process isn't for sale. And how do they do this? By stealing it. Mm-hmm. Which I just thought was funny because that's how politics get corrupt. They get bought and they get stolen. Mm-hmm. It was actually kind of a real lesson in that way.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed this added part of London's character that she takes joy out of crushing people she asks for a devastating photo of Cody, and when Zack supplies one, she goes, this will crush him. And when Zack asks if they're going too far, she tells a fun little anecdote about how Moseby's predecessor was trapped on a cargo ship to work in the mines in South America. And it's heavily implied that she did that. She trapped them on the
She
cargo
made
ship
it happen
to send them to South America to work in mines. Bob, we have to touch on it. It's iconic. It's the moment. It's inspirational. Bob decides at the last minute he was not running this whole episode, and then they have the little presidential speech, and he is up on the podium, and he says, "I didn't know I was running either, but we're out of cable today, or cable's out, so I'm bored." He runs. He gives his little speech. No one does anything except his sister, which is the actor that plays Bob in a wig, sits at a table and cheers for him, and he says, "Thanks, sis," and then drops out immediately. I'm withdrawing my hat from the race. Iconic. What? Why? I don't know, but great comedic relief. Probably the most I laughed in this episode.
Yeah. It was a moment where I was like, wait, is that Bob with the wig? And then I was like, this is so silly. I actually like when they do that, when they put the characters in like wigs to play other characters, but it's themselves. It does provide good comedic relief.
Yeah.
The B plot, especially at the end, where Moseby's like, you know what, Arwen, thank you for fucking everything up around the hotel, trying to make it more efficient, because this made all of the employees so worried that they are now working harder. And just them touching on like the fear and reality of tech taking over jobs, like it feels so much more real today with AI and everything going on. It's like such a real topic that everyone's talking about. But the fact that they touched on this and this came out in 2006 shows that like this has always been a concern.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge concern a huge concern in the ultimate Christmas present that they put out years before this, half a decade before this.
Yeah.
For me, the B plot, the most notable thing was just that I like that I feel like it's very, very rare that a Disney show gives B plots to full-blown adults. It's interesting to me, the dynamics of this full ensemble cast where we have our tweens, our teens, and our adults all interacting so often. This wasn't a Maddie and London plotline. It was a Arwen and Moseby plotline. I do think that in order to accomplish this, they've decided to dumb down the majority of their adults. Arwen is an engineer. He's a very smart guy, and he's also very silly and kind of stupid at the same time, which like I wouldn't say is unrealistic for engineers all the time. You know, they're not known to have the best people skills, but they do kind of make him a little more immature than would be normal.
Yeah. Well, and they not necessarily in this plot, but they do that with Moseby and other stories too, where like they make him this kind of like hard ass, no nonsense guy. And then in certain plots, he gets in situations where you're like, this doesn't really make sense, but they had to put him in that situation for like humor or to move the plot along. I do like that you brought this up though, because in most of the shows we've watched previously, most of our B plots follow the same characters.
Yeah, like Lizzie was very formulaic if you think about it that way, where it was like always Lizzie A, Matt B.
Yeah. And like Raven was mostly Raven A, Corey B. Like yes, there were some exceptions, but like more often than not, where there's really no formula here. Like sometimes Zack and Cody aren't the A plot. Someone else is the A plot. And we don't always get London and Maddie as the B plot. Sometimes they're mixed into the A plot. Sometimes they are the A plot and someone else is the B plot. And like we'll have episodes where it's like Maddie and Esteban are part of a plot together. So I like that they kind of mix them all together. It kind of helps with the world building too.
Yeah, and we have episodes like the Chef Paolo one where there's only one plot, and then we have ones like the one we're about to cover that has 3 plots.
Yeah.
So
we're going to get right into that one, but let's do a couple quotes. Brenda Song, London, says to Maddie at one point, "Dear sweet knave Maddie," instead of naive.
She delivers so well. When Cody, Zack, one of the boys, is mad about how the election is going, they storm into their, I was going to say apartment, I guess it's their suite, saying, "You backstabbing lowlife jerk!" Which, I don't know, was a good line that I remembered. Of note, Carrie immediately responds with, "You better be talking about your brother." And then they say that they're talking about the brother, and she says, "Don't talk about your brother that way."
Yeah.
And speaking of brothers,
Yeah.
I love a segue. Episode 8, Moseby's big brother. I did not remember this episode at all in my brain, but here we go. A plot. Mr. Moseby's big brother, and by big, we mean older brother, is in town for a business deal. He's only in town for one night, and Moseby is shitting bricks. He is so stressed out. He's like, my brother is perfect at everything and makes me seem terrible, and we have to do everything perfectly because he's hypercritical. Everyone in the staff, though, is like, Moseby, you're great, and also your brother, wait, he's so charismatic, he's so great. And his brother's like, I would like to stay a couple extra days, but his card gets declined. And actually, he's a millionaire who made some bad decisions, and now he's broke and he needs a job. And Esteban suggests that he fill in as concierge. And Moseby's like, absolutely not. But then a guest wants to go to this fancy restaurant that books up like 6 months in advance. And somehow Spencer, his brother, just immediately is able to get a table. And so he's like, fine, you can be the concierge. But then while he's the concierge, he's taking personal calls the entire time, not doing his job at all.
There's like a long ass line forming of guests just like pacing and waiting for help and being ignored.
Fully. Mr. Moseby comes to confront him. They apologize. They work it out. And then Spencer's like, you're right. I'm so sorry. Also, I'm rich again and I quit. And then Mr. Moseby is like, and they get in an actual physical fight throughout the hotel. That's their plot line.
Yep. The B plot, the boys want bikes again. Very weird reoccurring theme that we get, but it's a reoccurring theme.
Let me tell you, they either regularly need new bikes or new skateboards.
Yeah. And Carrie's like, I just bought you bikes. And they're like, no, those are 8 years old. And then they bring out the tiniest bikes ever. And Carrie's like, let me see. Do we have the money? And she's like, we have negative $12. So Zack and Cody decide to buy a bike together. Cody pitches in a little bit more money than Zack, and they're going to share it. And Cody's waiting for his time, but Zack shows up way late because he met a girl and he took forever to get home, and now it's dark out and Cody can't ride. The next day, Zack returns the bike at the right time, except it falls apart on the hotel lobby floor in a million pieces. So Cody spends all evening fixing it up, making it perfect. But at the time that it's fixed, it's Zack's time to ride the bike again. And so Cody's like pissed because he's like, I keep on dealing with all this. I put in more money and I haven't even been able to enjoy this bike. And so Carrie ends up lecturing both Moseby and Cody and are like, you guys need to stand up to your older brothers and you need to confront them and tell them about the issues that are bothering you. And so Cody confronts Zack about the bike and it's like, you never do anything for me. I always go out of my way to do things for you. And then Cody finally rides the bike.
I had something in my head and it went away. C plot. Maddie is fucking with London. She realizes that London's been very into reading her horoscope. And so Maddie is like messing with it. They email her fake horoscopes and she ropes Esteban into it. He's like, this is wrong. And she's like, London had you dress up as a fire hydrant when she was training her dog. And he's like, this is right. So they give her silly advice. They tell her to wear a bunny outfit, to stop listening to music, to not go outside. And the not going outside was on a day when she was going to go to this like big fireman's ball. So she's like, oh, do you guys want my tickets? So they go outside and they're waiting. And then she comes out and like sprays them with, it's like a fire hose, but full of fire hydrant foam. And says that she figured it out because she heard them talking. and it ends like the credits are playing while this happens. And this becomes a thing later on, or more often, where episodes will like the credits will be playing while a scene is finishing. And I just feel like maybe we didn't need 3 plots if you couldn't like finish it well in a timely manner, you know?
Yeah, and especially like when it was aired on TV, I'm sure that was less of an issue because they probably had like something on the screen and that in the corner, and you could continue to watch it until it goes into commercial break. But with streaming, it like wants you to go automatically to the next episode. There's so many other things on your screen that you really do catch. It's like difficult to catch the last like minute of the episodes because it's wanting you to go to the next and having all the credits going, and then there's just this tiny little box, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on in there, like, you know.
And this an episode we're going to talk about probably in our next podcast episode, they do that to wrap up an actual intense plot, and it like really pissed me off because it just felt rushed.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the episode. Where do we start?
So we're gonna start with the like Moseby older brother plot. There are points that made me very uncomfortable where Spencer is there and Maddie's interacting with Spencer, and she's like grinning and giggling and can't form a sentence and is incoherent. And like, I don't know if this is supposed to be flirting or they're implying that she has a crush on Spencer, but it's very weird and creepy, and I didn't like it because he's a grown-ass man and she's 15-year-old, and it just made me uncomfortable. Even if that wasn't the implication, I didn't like those scenes.
So the main reason I had us watch this episode is because of something I'm surprised you didn't know. What made me uncomfortable is the whole gag of it all. The whole gag of this episode is that this is Moseby's big brother who he looks up to, but he's played by an actor who is 4'5". Literally, I looked it up. He's 4'5". And so the whole time, like like Moseby says he has this huge shadow that he lives in, and Spencer shows up and they're like, well, I'd love to see his shadow. But then as soon as Spencer starts talking, he's charismatic, and that's when when Maddie starts kind of being flirty, and like maybe she has a crush on him. And no, she's not really flirting, but she's like smitten. She's like, everyone's like immediately won over by him, and she is in a way that, yeah, I agree, is gross because it's kind of like a crush type thing. And then there's so many like short jokes or comments where people are going out of their way to not sound like they're making a short joke. And I don't know, it just felt weird to center an entire A plot. Like his whole like losing money and getting money back really wasn't a big deal. The whole thing was about how Moseby feels in comparison to his brother. And in relation to that, the gag, the thing that was always supposed to be laughter, was how short he was.
Yeah.
Like, did that make you uncomfortable? Because that made me uncomfortable.
It didn't make me as uncomfortable as it made you. I just thought it was kind of dumb. Like, it felt like lazy comedic writing to me.
Very lazy.
Like, yeah, like comedy should like shoot up, so you should be doing jokes at like the person who has the upper hand or someone who has like more power. And like in some ways I guess he did because he had more money and more prestige, but then it did, because of the way the jokes were written, it really felt they were like shooting down on him on something he couldn't control. And it just like, yeah, it was just lazy comedic writing.
It was like the joke was that someone short could be in power.
Yeah.
Which, guys, that has nothing to do with anything. Other than it can be harder for people who are shorter or quote unquote abnormal physically to get power because society is shallow. But yeah,
totally. Very less serious when Moseby is trying to extend Spencer's stay and the card declines. Moseby is like, your card declined, the machine is telling me to confiscate your card. And this is really giving me Lizzie McGuire when Gordo orders all those pizzas on the credit card and then they like cut it up in front of him. Like, I don't think a card machine is telling you to confiscate someone's card. Like, it would tell you that the charge didn't go through, but it wouldn't be like, you have to steal, like, take this away from the person who has it. Like, what?
No. Even if it was suspected identity theft, it wouldn't tell you to do that.
Yeah.
It would just decline. They can't tell you to do that.
No.
I want this. Again, I'm going to compile a list on Esteban. I'm not going to compile a list on Carrie, but we got some interesting notes on both of them in these plots. The Carrie lore,
Mm-hmm.
when she was lecturing Moseby and Cody, we learned she has a little sister who she bullied and her sister doesn't talk to her. And also that in high school, she tried to share a boyfriend with her friend.
Yeah, we did learn that.
Yeah, she's a weirdo. She is a weirdo. That was my note, was Carrie's a weirdo. The Esteban lore, his town has a monkey mayor, and a limo is a cart pulled by a llama. Who the fuck are Max and Lenny?
What
Sorry.
do you mean?
She wrote the B plot. This is Max and Lenny all over again. Who? Oh!
Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? This plot is literally exactly copied from Lizzie McGuire when Max and Lenny get those bikes and they're going to share it, and Max is a little asshole and Lenny never gets to ride the bike and they have a little fight. What do you mean, who is Max and Lenny? Where were you the entire time we watched Lizzie McGuire?
That was 3 years ago. I forgot about Lenny. I was trying to Max was making me think Allison Stoner's character, and then I was like, is Tapeworm's name Lenny? Like, what's going on? Or is this like a different show? But I forgot his no, because his name isn't Max, it's Matt.
Oh, you're right.
I must have completely died. So sorry to anyone listening if I don't cut that shorter. We both just had to die for 20 seconds. We're back.
We're back. Woo! Okay, we're back. C-plot. London's horoscope, it's given co-star. Like, her actual horoscope at one point, she's like, I don't know, she says something like, oh, told me to eat cookies or something like that. And I'm like, this is giving co-star when it's like, ins, yoga mats, and quiet time. And it'll be like, outs, electric outlets. And you're like, what? Like, what does that mean for my day, co-star? And that's what it reminded me of.
Absolutely. I love co-star. I keep it around. I keep the daily notifications because they make me giggle. And sometimes I send them to people because I'm like, this is bonkers.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I do have to mention, just because it's cute as fuck, I just found it adorable. When London has to wear her bunny outfit, she's hopping around like a bunny eating a carrot. And it was cute.
Yeah. We have some quotes. I don't know where this first one is from.
I don't remember either. I want to say it's Zack and Cody, but it could be a Spencer Moseby plot line.
Oh, Moseby says this to Spencer because Spencer makes a comment when they're fighting that he shaved Moseby's hair when they were kids.
Yeah,
and Moseby says,
you said that was the hair gremlin.
Yeah. I've compiled a few of the short jokes. There's more, but someone says Spencer looks a little low. I mean down. I mean sad. Like, that's what I'm talking about, where they're really punching down. It's like,
yeah.
It's also the humor of like everyone trying not to be offensive, which kind of makes it offensive.
Totally.
It's really weird. Spencer does at one point play into it when Moseby's talking to him and he says, "Are you belittling me?" And then everyone in line at the concierge desk looks at Moseby like he's awful. And then there's a weird joke at the end that where they're like, you know why mom always treated you better, referring to how their mom treated Spencer. And there's this like linger, like, are they finally gonna address the fact that he's short because no one's said it this whole time? And then they say it's because Spencer's lactose intolerant. It's so weird, guys. It's so weird.
It's weird.
Okay, our last
why
episode.
did we even include that? But yes, last episode. Twins at the Tempton take us away on our A plot.
A plot. There's a twin convention at the Tipton Hotel, and Mr. Moseby says Zack and Cody, nah, not in my lobby, which is what he says every episode. Cody has a date with Irma. Sure, but then she dumps him at the last minute. Bob tells him that he's been dumped. Zack, meanwhile, ran into Jessica in the lobby, and she's looking for her twin and can't find her. And Zack's like, this is a babe. Want to go out? And she's like, I don't do anything without my sister. Do you have a twin? And he's like, I just so happen to have one. Yes. So he tells Cody that they should go out with these twins, and Cody is crying over Irma, so he doesn't want to. But somehow Zack finagles his way into going on the date because he's like, you're my brother, classic Zack guilt trip. So they go on this double date at like a pizza place that they recycle the set for in Sunny with a Chance. And the twins, by the way, are English and blonde, and Cody's just falling apart. Everything
and like 4
Irma.
inches taller than the guys.
Yes, which I also love. Cody's falling apart. He's crying. He's like, everything reminds him of Irma, and he mentions her, and Zack's like, that's his gerbil. And then he goes to the loo, and Cody's like, she's not my gerbil, she was my girlfriend. And they're like, oh no, it's so sad to see you cry, and it's so rare to find a boy in touch with his feelings. And they start like, he cries on one shoulder and then he cries on the other shoulder, and they tear his head back and forth. And that's what Zack walks in on when he comes back from the toilet. And he comes into his hotel with his mom being like, Cody stole my girls. And Cody, meanwhile, is like, that was great, and has a breakfast date set up with them.
B plot. London and Maddie think one of the twins, Kirk, is cute. And then they learn that he has a twin named Dirk. And they're like, great, Kirk is cute, so we'll both go out with the twins. And they agree to double date. However, they're fraternal twins. And Dirk is a dork. AF is what I wrote. So they go out on this double date. Maddie really doesn't want to, but London's like, come on, you agreed. And Maddie's like, that's before I knew they were fraternal twins. And Dirk is like gross and kind of weird at dinner, and he keeps on being like, did you know? And then telling like really gross medical facts that no one cares about and are like, it just, yeah. And so Maddie walks out, and then Dirk follows her, and he is kind of like, oh, maybe I need a second chance, all these things. And Maddie's thinking about it. It's like, okay, I can give you a second chance. But then she learns that actually he wants to go on a date with London instead because he likes them dumb and rich.
Yep. Direct quote. It's on my list. Notes. This one was on the rerun list, baby. I gave it to us because we get Jessica and her sister, Janice?
Janice? Yeah.
Who are icons. Even for this episode alone. It's very clear from this introduction of them, though, that they were really only supposed to be here for this episode. So it makes it weirder when they show up later, but we'll get to that. But I feel like I've seen this episode 20 times.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this episode a lot. I do have to ask, because you're watching all of these in order. Okay.
We did not know about Irma.
Okay. Because I was confused. I'm like, am I missing plot here? Who's Irma? Cody has a girlfriend? Since when?
No, I also wrote the note. Who the fuck is Irma?
Yeah, and it like kind of loosely implied that it's Bob's sister, but I'm not sure if that's factual. I could have just
I did not get that implication.
Okay. Also, there's this part where like London, so they're talking about the twin convention. I think Moseby or Maddie says something to London along the lines, oh, London goes, oh, I've never met a twin before.
Yeah.
And Maddie goes, Zack and Cody are twins. And London's like, they are? And I'm like, what?
And she says, since when?
Just, what?
A fun little nod in the A-plot because it's a twin convention. So there's just the only people in the hotel are twins. Everywhere. On this double date, twins everywhere. There's 2 old man twins who are both in wheelchairs who are very much giving Zack and Cody when they're 85. They're like the troublemakers who are like throwing the vase around and like getting into trouble, and it's just like a fun little nod. It's
really cute. B plot, Dirk's hobbies are taxidermy and reading medical journals?
Yep. Honestly, Dirk and Maddie deserve each other.
No, Maddie deserves better. I know we're talking about how she's trash, but I disagree. I think she deserves better than Dirk. Dirk was just...
His quotes are pretty terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Moseby's filling in at the restaurant as the host because Patrick crashed his sports car into Rich, and then Gary got hit by the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
This was a weird detail that
Mm-hmm.
they like I feel like what happened was Disney needed to add Phil to this episode in some way because of his contract. And so this is what he was doing, and that was their way of explaining it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It didn't really make sense, and we don't really see him fill in that capacity. But also, he does everyone's job that's front of house. So, like, is it that strange for Mr. Moseby? Because no.
I like how you've just like given up. You're like, it's not weird because everything's weird.
Well, yeah, because otherwise I would rant for like 45 minutes on Mr. Moseby alone.
We don't have time for that. So,
Nope.
all of these quotes are mine. Jess didn't have any quotes. Number 1, Maddie calls Dirk a goofus from Goofusville.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I have to get it out of the way. Dirk's infamous quote, I think she's really hot, and I like them dumb and rich.
Yep.
You're talking about your twin brother's date. And also
Yeah.
a woman. Like,
Yeah.
Zack, in reference to the British twins, says what they do in Boston stays in Boston. I hate it. It's disgusting. It's a reference to Vegas and partying and sleeping around. Why is a 13-year-old boy saying this about a couple of 13-year-old girls?
Yeah.
And now the most famous quote is when Bob tells Cody that Irma is dumping him. He runs in and he says, I have it on the highest authority. Irma told Kim, who told Phil, who told Ashley, who told Brenda, who told Dylan, who told Cole, who told me. It's over. Which, if you didn't catch that, Irma told Kim Rhodes, Carrie, who told Phil Lewis, Moseby, who told Ashley, Tisdale, Maddie, who told Brenda, Song, London, who told Dylan, Sprouse, Zack, who told Cole, Sprouse, Cody, who told me, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
clever,
clever,
I
actually.
really wonder if that was a writer's choice in the script originally, or if they had like a bunch of random names and the actor couldn't remember them and they just were like, why don't we use real names? But either way, It's funny. It tickles me. I didn't really realize that this was a thing, and I wouldn't have known it if I hadn't seen it on Instagram or Tumblr like 2 days ago when I was looking for memes. So when it came up, I was like, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to think that's a writer because it is giving like clever writing.
Yeah, for once.
Yeah. Do you want to go into your shout outs? This is the time where Amanda shouts out some notable moments, maybe notable characters from the episodes that we are not covering. And she's going to go, so we covered through episode 11. So she's going to cover all her shout outs through episode 10 because we did 11.
I love getting a little intro. It's like I'm about to walk on stage and accept an award. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Episode 2, French 101. Just felt like I saw this one a lot. There's a French ambassador, president something, whose daughter is there, Jolie, and they have a crush on her. See, Jess knows because she's nodding along. She's like, yeah, I know what episode you're talking about.
When I saw it come up and I was like, wait, Amanda said we don't have to watch this one. I'm like, I remember watching this one all the time.
Oh, 100%. It was on the reruns all the time. It just wasn't that notable. It was kind of funny, though, because there's a teen club in it, and Moseby is their translator. Anyway, episode 3, Daycare. Bananas episode in which the twins are helping out at the daycare for Maddie at the Tipton. And some of the kids at the daycare, Moises Arias, who, by the way, even more creepily hitting on Maddie, and baby Joey King. Yep, Joey King. I put her on our stories. Also, the B plot is a weird yoga plot line where London's like, London makes Carrie and Moseby go to yoga and then is telling the instructor she's doing it wrong. And I don't know. It's weird. And we learned that it took London 14 years to learn her ABDs. Episode 5, Free Tippy. It's about ageism, which I thought was kind of interesting. Told Jess about that. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought the fact that it was about ageism was interesting. I didn't think the episode itself was that interesting. Episode 9, Books and Birdhouses. Once again, Joey King is back. Episode 10, Not So Sweet 16. There's a guest star, Catherine Justin, Mrs. Karen McCluskey-Bender in the Desperate Housewives. What?
Yeah, she plays a very notable character in Desperate Housewives.
I've never seen it.
I haven't either, but she's in every single episode almost, so.
That episode is about London and Maddie having rival 16th birthday parties. It's not bad, but what is bad is the introduction of Liam, who I've only seen in this one episode, Maddie's little brother, who walks up to the candy counter and says, "Hey, Maddie, I mean Fatty."
I do not like the body comments in this show, particularly towards Maddie, who is a thinner white woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't not okay with it.
And the thing is, like, I got comments like that growing up as a not thinner white woman from kids. So it's sometimes watching it, I'm like, it's not unrealistic. But then I'm like, I'm an adult, and adults wrote this, and they're telling kids that it's not unrealistic for them to say this, which means they're giving them permission to say this.
Correct. It's like, where do we learn it from? Which obviously is, I think, in multiple sources, but from the media we consume is a huge way that we learn how to communicate with our peers. So if we are seeing people talk that way on television, there may be part of us that's like, this is just, if someone called me fat, I'm like, oh, that's just what kids do. And then you brush it off as well.
And she brushes it off. That's the other thing, is these comments are thrown around and they're never confronted.
Ugh. Well, with that, up next, we're continuing season 2. Follow us on socials. I'll make sure to shout out what episodes to watch if you want to follow along with us in the next one.
I'm dividing it roughly into I'm dividing it roughly into thirds, so it'll be the middle third. Make of that what you will. There's 39 episodes.
Mm-hmm. As always, you can follow us on all of our social medias at 90 Babies Nostalgia. Spell out the word 90s on Instagram and YouTube. But if you're following us on TikTok, use the numbers there. Please, please, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really, really helps our podcast get promoted out and mentioned to others. And with that, we will see you in the next one.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
90s Babies Nostalgia.
Oh, I have to be so bad.